Well, I'm here at Pinot Noir 2010 in Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm standing here with Helen Masters, winemaker at Rangi. How are you today?
Hi Jamie, I'm good.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to over the last few years, and what you think of Pinot Noir 2010.
Right, well, I've been winemaker at Rangi for 7 years now, so which is a real pleasure. Just such a fantastic vineyard. Vineyard's been established for 30 years, so we've got really good, much older vines. We've got a really established site, so we've got history behind us. So I'm very lucky in that respect to work with some of the oldest vines in New Zealand.
Now, when did you actually start at Rangi? Because you were it was a very young age that you joined Rangi, was it not?
Well, I did a year with Rangi just after I'd left school. So I had a real interest in being a winemaker right through my school years. I'm from a family that likes to drink wine.
Okay.
So I looked up and did my research and saw that Rangi even back then was like one of the leading wineries in New Zealand. So I wrote a very sweet letter off to say could I come and get some experience. So I ended up working at Rangi for a year before going to university.
Okay, and what that was university for winemaking?
I actually did more of an engineering,
okay.
a sort of chemistry engineering degree, which at the time a lot of the New Zealand wine industry was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then basically I've done a lot of vintages and worked in vineyards and got the more practical side of it through actual experience rather than just doing a
From New Zealand or elsewhere in the world?
I've worked in California.
Yes. Where did you work in California? Just out of interest.
I did a vintage harvest at Calera Vineyard.
Oh yes.
Yeah, in Mount Harlan.
It's a nice place to work.
Yeah. And also for Sonoma-Cutrer in the Russian River, making Pinot Noir off in a side winery. They're predominantly known for Chardonnay. And then up in Oregon for Kenwright Cellars and Yamhill Valley. And then lots of different wineries in New Zealand. And then I returned to the Martinborough region in 2001. And worked 3 years at Martinborough Vineyard and then back to Rangi in 2003.
Now, how do you feel that this conference has gone? It's just come to its, almost at its close, I suppose. We have the gala dinner this evening.
Yeah.
But how do you think this conference has helped New Zealand Pinot Noir? What do you think has actually been gained through this conference?
Well, I think that New Zealanders by nature are sort of quite a reticent breed. We're not particularly into promoting ourselves, and I think this has really got 107 wine producers in New Zealand together to really talk about Pinot Noir and show what we're producing in New Zealand. And there's been we've had huge strong feedback from the UK and the United States that New Zealand Pinot Noir is a completely recognised brand in itself. In terms of people really identify with the fruit characters, some of the brightness and the brightness of fruit. But I think people have been able to see by coming here that there is actually there's a second wave of Pinot Noir. There's Pinot Noirs with complexity, and there's Pinot Noirs that just aren't built around pure fruit, but are built around the second sort of more vine age coming through.
I was about to say, is that vine age or just the maturation of the industry itself? And perhaps
I think, importantly, it is vine age.
Yes.
And also the maturity of the people involved, because you're seeing more seasons. You know how to respond in a more sort of whole way, to cope with the weather. And so I think that the industry is maturing, but at the same time the vines are maturing. People are understanding where the best spots to plant particular clones are, because the clones do act differently, and it should be careful site selection. And I think that there's been a lot of talking and communicating, and people are very willing to share that knowledge in New Zealand. And I think that's been really shown here, that there is no secrets. If someone came up to me and asked me exactly how they made the wine, I would tell them.
Yes.
It really is to me about.
There seems to be great solidarity between all of the different producers. At least I've never seen anything. Well, actually, in Oregon, it was quite similar to that. I was at Oregon Pinot Camp earlier last year, and I did see that kind of solidarity and sharing of ideas and philosophies.
And I think most of us just like to drink good Pinot. So if someone we know makes a great Pinot, we get excited about it. So I think it is like that. We most of the time, I try not to drink my own wine. I try to drink other people's wine.
Yeah, to see what's going on.
To see what's going on, and that to me is more exciting. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to have to edit out because I forgot what I was going to ask. Oh, I remember what it was. It was you were talking about the maturation of the industry or the community, and that was really, really evident to me when we were tasting that flight of the 2003 vintage, and looking back and seeing how those wines. I've been so cognizant of the fact that the winemaking has come so far since 2003, and it was interesting. Just as soon as I was nosing those wines, it was jumping out of the glass in so many of those for me. And I know that all of those wineries, almost all of them, have toned down their oak regimes and the like. And I love to see that kind of evolution of the industry.
Well, I think especially when the vines are young.
Yes.
You know, in the initial first couple of years, the sweet fruit might mask that
Yes,
growth,
yeah.
and they might put it back
Yes.
on. But as time sort of softly decays the sweetness of the fruit, and you're left with the more the structure, you end up smelling the oak more, and the oak tannins come through more. So you have to be relatively mindful of the real sort of fruit weight and ripeness of tannins of your vines early on. I think people have got better at that. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for spending a little bit of time after this hurried 4 days of Pinot Noir tasting. Thank you very much, Helen, and look forward to spending some time with you at the gala dinner this evening.
Fantastic.
Take care.
See you. Bye.